CJ is here. CJ Gustafson.
What's he doing? He's in some kind of boudoir. Where is
he's
he?
on his set. He's on the Run the Numbers with CJ set. CJ,
why don't we have something like that? That's impressive.
Because CJ's swimming in money.
He's
CJ
rich.
runs mostly metrics because he focuses on CFOs, and there's just way more freaking money in that than in media. So CJ, welcome.
Gentlemen, first time, long time. Thanks for having me on.
For those who do not know, I always sing your praises, CJ, because I want your business.
You're the man.
Didn't CJ connect with Emily? Wasn't there some weird,
Yeah, they're
thread
rivals. There's rivals. They're rivals.
We're not rivals. What are you talking about? I know nothing about culture and fashion. I wear both a belt and suspenders to wear. Emily's awesome. Brian introduced us.
Yeah, no, but CJ has, to me, like probably the most vibrant areas, if you want to talk about this new media world, is in those who are doers who then can also do the media bit. And I think CJ is one of them. I think
he knows what an accrual is.
I don't remember what FP&A is, but like he not only knows what it stands for, but like he knows how it's done. I would say you're like the Lenny Rachitsky of like the finance department.
That's high praise, man. That was
my goal. Thank you. If I've made it there, that would be pretty cool. I remember reaching out to him when I had like 3,000 free subscribers. It's at 75,000 now, but I'd reached out just asking like, hey, can I get some advice in the stuff that I've written? I was just shocked that he answered me. So he's been super gracious.
Great. So you were yourself a CFO, and now mostly Metrics is basically the playbook for not just CFOs, but I think about it, everything always goes to like the aspirants. You got a lot of people who are aspirants, people who want to be CFOs. They might be running the whatever FP&A stands for, but want to eventually be a CFO.
Yeah, I'm a recovering CFO, and the audience is predominantly current and aspiring CFOs.
Okay, great. I remember us talking, and I was like,
do you have parties? Do you ever have parties?
Yeah, he's got a party product.
I threw an event last night in New York City. I'm on low sleep and extremely low social battery.
Do those get crazy? Like
do they get? Everybody
parties?
gets those CFOs get really fucked up, right? Like everybody's partying hard.
The gentleman across from me was deleting margaritas.
What does that mean?
he was going hard in the paint. It's cool to get. So we get 25 CFOs together. We luckily have a couple of kind sponsors who have been working with us for a while, who help pick up the tab. And like getting 25 CFOs in a room is hard to do, but once they're there, I think all of them have basically a box to check of this is the one networking thing I'm going to do this year.
You guys have strippers and stuff, or what?
No, we don't do that. We talk about ERPs and accruals, like you said, Troy. It's not.
Do you know how valuable 25 CFOs in a room is?
It's kind of like the
is
highest
that a
hourly
joke?
Rate.
Yeah.
No, it's not a joke.
In New York City. No, I mean they all make purchasing decisions not only for their department but for their org. So similar to how TBPN discovered, hey, there may only be 200,000, I think they say, people out there who are a bang on fit for what we're creating here. It's not like they're putting it on their personal credit card, right? They're making B2B resource allocation decisions. And so I think that's kind of the allure of the audience.
What were they wearing, CJ?
Well, it was like the hottest day on record in New York yesterday. So a lot of them were wearing polos, but I wore, okay, this is actually kind of funny. So we have a recruiting side of the business too. I have a wonderful partner, Callie. So this is the new element to the business this year. And I had sweated so much through my shirt, just going through the meetings in New York City, that she was kind enough to pick me up a new Brooks Brothers button up so I could change so I didn't look like a sewer rat.
Dude, you should get a sponsorship with Brooks Brothers. That would be a great collab.
Or one of those guys like Untuck It, or one of those guys that make functional.
Untuck It blows my mind. There's one in the Norwalk Mall.
Who the fuck's buying that shit? What is that?
But you can innovate in so many different ways in capitalism. This is why I'm a reluctant but ardent capitalist.
It's like that saying, like there's someone out there with 1/10 of your intelligence making 10 times as much just because like they don't overthink it. Like who made Untuck It? I want to be that guy.
Yeah, no, it's just a simple observation. So I wanted to have you on to talk a little bit about tokenomics because, we talk a lot on this podcast about the direction AI is going, and particularly within companies. And, the idea to me was always, look, we're creating software that can do the job that you're usually relying on humans to do. And then there came in this concept of token maxing. People had leaderboards with how many tokens you could go through. And guess what? You set the incentives, you're going to get the results. And the results were these bills got massive. And now we are seeing a pullback. Give us like a lay of the land about what is going on right now with CFOs when they're looking at how much they're spending on tokens and how they figure out their AI spending with whatever results they're getting from it.
So it's a super nuanced question, and I won't deny that the costs are going up. One of my friends who was at the dinner last night said, yeah, our Anthropic bill's up 40% month over month. I'm like, what? That's nuts. And I think to take a step back, you have to think that these token costs really need to be split into two buckets. A lot of people just talk about it as one cost, but the cost of what goes into your product, which you get paid for, is very different than the cost of the tokens you use internally, like the marketing team or the engineering team to create something. And those are valued differently if you're an investor, whether that's in the private markets or the public markets.
Okay, so like if you're burning tokens, basically spending tokens to create the product, okay, that's great, right? But a lot of the sort of token waste is being done in all the stuff that's outside the product, which is kind of funny because AI should basically take over a lot of the functions. Nobody likes to spend on the coordination tax, but at the same time, the coordinators are using the burning through tokens and just raising the bills there.
Yeah. So like I said, you need to track the token costs that are part of your product, which shows up in your cost of goods sold, from the token costs that are employees using them, which shows up in your OpEx. And it's funny how there are different expectations around each, because weirdly enough, if you were seeking investment and you want to show your token cost in your cost of goods sold, so on the P&L, and I'm getting a little financial on you, you actually want to show that it's significant enough to say you're an AI company, right? There are a lot of companies out there who are trying to make the pivot to AI, but they're actually not spending enough on tokens, weirdly enough, to say we are legit. We actually are AI. If you still have 85 or 90% gross margins, investors will think that there's no there for lack of a better term.
That's a great point, man. I was on a call yesterday, CJ, and I was encouraging. It's a sort of subset of like the technical data and kind of design leadership in a company, and I'm trying to create a kind of subcommittee to get them to focus on what they're doing with AI. And I sort of see 3 or 4 buckets. First of all, one interesting little anecdote is one of the guys made a comment that it doesn't matter how many people we have in India doing the specific data cleansing task because they're basically exchangeable like for like with tokens, which I thought was meaning like they're the same price.
Yeah.
Which was, I thought, a kind of a disgusting statement, but anyway, it's where we are. The other one was there's, oh my God, look what we can do with AI. Let's call that AI show and tell. And it's like, holy fuck, we created this crazy, funnel, AI funnel designer or whatever, something like that. Then there's the cost that the stuff that fundamentally reduces your cost. Therefore, there should be a consequence, like people need to leave the company. Right. And then there's the hardest one, I think the one that you're talking about, which is actually this is going to translate into some optimization that creates revenue.
And it's interesting that it's less so even the percentage of gross margin. It's more the trend upwards. I know a ton of tech companies right now that are operating at 50% gross margin, which basically means for everything that they sell, half of that just goes back to Anthropic or OpenAI in order for their product just to function. But what the investors are looking at is it going up over time? So it reminds me of this company, Snowflake. It's a large publicly traded company in the data management space. And when they were going to IPO, Troy, they had 58% gross margin. That kind of sucks on the surface, but they showed for 12 quarters after that they could creep it up to 70%. And everybody got excited.
Do you mean that out of revenue, like roughly 40% was going to tokens?
Yeah. It wasn't for tokens at the time. It was for cloud infrastructure, but that's the analog to companies today.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're seeing. And so that's what you want to show improving over time. And you also want to tell this story of Moore's law, that you can accomplish what you're doing today at a lower cost over time. So you won't be paying these frontier large language model costs or the Ferrari for your chatbot just on your website.
Yeah. You know what occurred to me when they were talking, I was talking to my son about this, that everything that sort of progressive companies are doing to move AI into every way that they're operating. So for example, if you want to get analytics about your company via Slack, fully permissioned, like your data store is tied into Slack and everybody can get wicked SKU level information. And there's this like that basically the bar is just like, you hear, this is what got me. You hear reports that we don't have enough energy, we don't have enough chips, the demand for AI is like through the roof, and you're like, wait, like I'm not using the chatbot that much. And the truth is that it's being baked in slowly to everything that companies are doing. And it's just becoming like these are fully sort of augmented enterprises. And
I'm so glad you brought that up.
All it means is that we're going to blink and we'll look in 10 years, and just the way that companies are organized are just it's just so fundamentally different.
Yeah, but do the numbers work? Run the numbers, CJ.
I talked about the shit that you're selling, right? Now I want to talk about the cost of tokens within your company, which Troy alluded to there, because at the employee level, you start to drill into who is using AI in what department and for what quote unquote job to be done. And as an aside, you have like a dispersion of quality of employees throughout the company. And the 10x people before AI, funny enough, are also going to be the 10x people with AI. They're going to be 100x people in the sense that they were the amazing employees before. They were self-starters and they said, I can actually get better with AI. I think the benefit though, and where the most theoretical gains for a company comes from moving the middle of the pack along. And this is where CFOs are focused on spending it, because it takes me back to this lesson that a sales leader I used to work with. And this is an easy example because salespeople have quotas, right? You know if they hit them or not. You've both worked at corporations where you have salespeople selling ads or selling software with quotas. And what he said is, I have a team of 10 people. Numbers 9 and 10 on the team are high achievers. I don't really need to put much work into them. They're going to crush their number every quarter. On the other end of the spectrum, 1, 2, and 3, they kind of suck. They're probably not long for this world. But if I can find a way to move the middle of the pack, say employees 6 and 7, or employees 5, 6, and 7, it's the same thing with AI. If I can bring the medium engineer up to top quartile or finance up to top quartile, that's where you get the most theoretical gains on spending AI within a company.
So does that mean that because everyone focuses on cutting jobs and it hasn't happened yet. So from the CFO perspective, you're not hearing from them and you don't see that they are focused on how can we replace people with tokens?
So I think it's coming up a lot in situations where there are backfills. So I was sitting next to a CFO last night and he was saying that 2 people had left on one of the teams that he manages. And what they're looking at doing is, hey, this is almost a budget envelope. So let's say $400,000 worth of labor walked out the door because they took a different job. What do we spend this on? It doesn't necessarily have to be a person. It could be software. It could be tokens, but they're taking more of a holistic approach to it. And I think the way that all of this shows up is in terms of efficiency in 3 different places. So the first one is revenue per employee. So it's a really quick litmus test of the production of a company. So you simply take what their revenue is, divide it by employee. If you're a publicly traded company, you want to be over 400,000. The best companies do $1 million in revenue per employee. The second way it shows up is some sort of departmental measure. So you would never measure a finance person on their code commits, right? They're not doing code. It would have to be something around like invoices processed or something that it links back to them. Then the third piece, and this is really the final boss of it all, is free cash flow. Is the company able to produce more free cash flow? Because that is what valuations are predicated upon. You discount back the forecast of what you think the profits it can generate using some sort of interest rate back to today's terms. And that, Brian, is what I don't think we have proven is there yet with AI.
What that produces better free cash flow? I mean, that is, isn't that like what it has to do?
The whole point of business is to make more money, right? And it's weird with some of these AI conversations that with the whole token maxing that people talk about as if the point of AI is to use AI. It's like, no. This is like a means to an end to produce more profit, to be like a better business. Like at the end of the day, it comes simply down to like making more than you spend.
So I guess what the part that I get like hung up on is if these companies are, yes, they're growing their revenues tremendously, right? Not like, you know, the AI companies. But it's not like they're wildly profitable. They're good. They're going into debt to buy all the compute, right? Mm-hmm. And if their customers are maxing out their spending on AI and not producing more free cash flow, then isn't this like a house of cards?
I don't think it's a house of cards, but I think it's this weird catch-22 where you're playing the game not to win, but not to lose in many senses. Because like lurking in the back of this is if we ever get to a state where there's more free cash flow produced that can be realized by shareholders, which can come in the form of either dividends, share buybacks, or just rising stock price per share. And if every company is doing the exact same things to get better by using AI, then the gains get competed away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, I think, probably roughly analogous to the people trying to do ROI calculations on personal computers back in the day. It's like, we spent a lot of money on PCs, but we didn't, see more free cash flow. But the truth is everybody was doing it.
I think we often forget that there are way more companies out there that aren't LLM companies, just in the way that the news talks about it, and that aren't AI native companies, whatever you want to call it. So it's a bigger existential question of, like, for me, I came from the legacy SaaS world, I guess you would call it. It's kind of weird to say that it's legacy now. Are we in this race to achieve explosive growth, or is it more a race to just stay in the game for the sake of staying in the game?
We usually talk about explosive diarrhea, but not.
Well, we already discussed that.
It is sweeping the nation. I heard in Cleveland, Ohio right now.
In the overall sort of vibe check with CFOs, like, it sounds like they're not seeing this as some sort of game changer to their businesses, at least yet. It's still a future story.
Oh, it's very much a future story. I don't think a lot of companies are showing results that would point to this being I think they're realizing the technology they have to use makes it a whole new world, but I don't think the results are saying we've truly created a better mousetrap with a lot of these companies using AI. They're just seeing the costs go up, and they're still trying to figure out how to calculate ROI.
Okay.
Well, I have a couple non-AI questions for you.
Sure.
See, I really like CFOs, CJ, and it's good.
Is that his new moniker, CFO CJ?
No.
Been saying it for years.
Well, there was Feed Me Emily and then CFO CJ. So
CFO CJ. No, but we could put them in. We could bucket different types, but a CFO with a sense of humor is a very, very nice human being. And
that's CJ's format innovation. Emily had the selfie, and CJ's the cool CFO.
Right. So what is it? What does it take? How do you think about the CFO? Like, what is a CFO, CJ? How would you characterize the average CFO?
I would say it's a person who's in charge of resource allocation within a company. And most CFOs that I deal with, Troy, are either venture backed or private equity backed, which means they're taking a huge chunk of money and trying to, I don't know, they're making risk adjusted bets within that company, many of which are losing money at the time in order to
But are they fun to play golf with, CJ?
I suck at golf, so I wouldn't be fun to play golf with. I throw my clubs in trees. It's not great.
What do you think of the CFO, the CEO CFO archetype? Meaning like the CFO who becomes the CEO. I mean, we see this like often, and it's a direction to go. Like, I was listening to an All-In podcast with the former Intel CEO, and he blamed like, we had the finance people in charge. We needed a tech person to be running a tech company, not
there are really three paths
guy.
to CEO. You start the company, and many times you're a technical founder, or you go through the CRO sales route, or you go many times through the CFO route. So there are different ways to skin the cat there. But I think CFOs over the last 10 years have become way more operationally minded. You've seen in a lot of big companies the COO role kind of got eaten by the CFO, and it makes a lot of sense.
So do you think that CFOs unnecessarily get like a bad rap? Like they're the cops in the company?
Oh yeah. I mean, people think that, I don't know, my friend used to call me the CFO just to try to piss me off.
Well, but yeah, you're also better looking than most CFOs, I think. So
You're too kind.
You should do a calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the hot priest calendars in Rome.
The hot CFOs calendar.
Do
That's
the
a
hot
great
CFO
idea.
calendar.
Career advice, this is the best one. This would go gangbusters on most metrics if I did a hot CFO calendar.
Do a hot CFO because have you ever been in Rome? They have those like hot priest calendars that they sell at the kiosks. It's sort of similar. You got a lot of different
you could segment it. You could do public CFO, hot public CFOs. You could do all kinds of shit. It'd be really funny. Fat CFOs.
A month. Yeah.
Don't too fat. Final thing is just on your business. Explain your business to Troy, because I think it's like incredibly impressive. Your different like levers, and particularly the recruiting. That's the newest lever that you have.
Well, it all started with Mostly Metrics. That's my newsletter. It was on Substack. Now it's on Beehive. I think where you publish is less.
Brian got you over to Beehive?
Yeah, he did actually.
It was a big get.
Yeah,
he's a big get. Well, you probably got a kickback that I don't even know about.
Totally.
You should buy me the acai bowl next time.
Although I don't know, you're doing fine.
Started with the newsletter, and then the newsletter actually helped me get my job as the CFO. Got me, I guess, I don't know if I got fired or I told them I was leaving, but either way, they were like, can't work here anymore. So I got the CFO role through that because there were investors reading it. We ended up selling the company, which was cool. I mean, making money off of sales is cool, but I thought it was way cooler just to show that like I could.
So do you live in like a fancy Westchester neighborhood now, or what's going on? Like you don't find a lot of CFOs in Tribeca.
I live in Connecticut.
Yeah. Oh, that's on brand. Yeah.
I started a podcast, and it eventually got some steam. It's kind of cool how you can use one medium to reinforce the other. There's a network effect there. And I always had this vision of media in the front, some sort of commerce in the back. And what's awesome about media is that if you have a great product, you can get that up and running and very profitable very quickly. At the same time, though, the inventory is capped. And it's actually good that the inventory is capped because then you can drive higher prices because there's a scarcity there. And then you can keep selling further and further out into the future. And as you sell more of those out, you can raise the price and there's more demand. So it's just that whole supply demand effect. But I wanted to figure out
I don't understand why they fired you. You seem super sensible to me.
He's not good with numbers. That's the weird thing.
Hold it. Do you have a CFO? Do you have a CFO now?
I'm kidding, by the way.
No, I don't have a CFO. I'm the CFO, I guess. But
you don't have a. Why don't you? You should get a CFO, man.
But
then I wouldn't have any fun, Troy. I'm not going to double
me getting
hire.
a writer.
I'm the king of QuickBooks. So then I wanted to come up with some sort of product that was relatively uncapped and wasn't, didn't have a ceiling in terms of inventory or something. So I was going through like, well, what would be a service that would be great for the people who are currently part of the ecosystem and would otherwise be something that's relatively commoditized without distribution. And so I've been having these dinners, right? So I have the podcast and newsletter and then the dinners that we do. And then we also do reports because I can push it into.
What does this business look like? How much revenue we got going?
It's doing okay. It's growing.
Is it bigger than Brian's?
Oh, way bigger. He's got a great business. He's not going to give you numbers. I can tell by his reaction. I know his numbers. They're great.
They're healthy margins.
When did you build?
Unless he's lying to me.
When did you build the Run the Numbers studio in your attic or wherever you are? Like what?
I built this last year. It was my first CapEx investment.
You got AC in there?
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Got AC in here.
No, but he's got a recruiting business.
Yeah, that's a common little extension, right?
So
Emily
that's
has
the
a
service.
recruiting
So the
business.
CFOs mostly.
No, she has a jobs
usually
board.
the
There's a
gap.
difference between a jobs board and a recruiting business.
Yeah, so the CFOs who come on my podcast will hire us as their retained recruiter, which you earn usually 30% of the person's first year salary to find their person who will run finance or accounting under them.
30% of first year salary, Trent. That's better than like $80 for a job posting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
That's why I love B2B.
Okay, so then if you're not going to disclose the numbers, let's break it into, the relative value of each. You got, well, I guess a lot of them blend, right? You have newsletter subs. Are they subs? Is it a subscription? You got that, you got dinners, you got recruiting, and what was the fourth one?
Podcast.
Podcasts. Okay, yeah. So how much money in that? If you broke up advertising, subs, recruiting, and other?
I'll just tell you, I don't even care. In the first year, we did 150K. Second year, we did 1.5. Third year, we did 3. And this year,
7.
I think we'll get through 5.
5, right?
Yeah.
That's good. That's better than yours, Brian. And it's a lot of. How many employees do you have? What's your revenue per employee?
He's got.
I'm the only full-time employee, but I have a amazing salesperson. I have 2 producers, and I have a recruiter, and then someone who helps with media operations.
Yeah, so we're talking like $1 million an employee.
That's the goal.
No, they're not
full.
I mean,
that
it's
is
a great
fucking
business.
awesome, CJ. That's amazing. You're going to be a rich guy. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up.
Wait, no, it's better. He's almost sold out for 2027.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't do the bullshit dance that you do.
The daycare bills are piling up at a rapid rate.
Okay, so this is
the revenue assurance.
You should have this guy on all the time, Brian. I mean, this is gold. But here's the thing.
I've spent my life in like the media industry. He like comes in, we have like an acai bowl or something one time where we just talk and I'm like, yeah, this is I'm just like spitball. I'm like, no, here's how you can like build it. And the guy goes and like builds like this amazing.
You mean you're
like,
taking credit for
No, I'm not taking credit at all.
CFO
I'm saying
CJ's
that like
business?
literally, I think CJ's convinced me that maybe the CFOs should be put in charge of media businesses. I think Jeff Bezos is onto something with making the CFO the CEO.
Hey, CJ, guess in our little prep thread, Brian said, there's these 2 businesses that feel like they're of the moment. And one is Costco, very American business, and the other one's Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's, is that what it's called? It's like gas.
Buc-ee's.
They probably have them in Connecticut? Maybe, I don't know.
No, they don't have them.
No, is it like a upscale Cumberland Farms or something? I'm from Boston.
No, it's downscale. It's downscale. They're massive gas stations where you can buy like souvenirs and hamburgers and hot dogs and shit.
They have a big beaver mascot.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Them and Costco, they pay their people well. They're people like, the story last week about the Costco millionaire, the checkout guy that, like makes good money and, has participated in their 401k and saves all the money and has benefited from the stock and all that. So the thing about these businesses is because they, I presume, run decent, kind of gross margin businesses, they pay their people well. And the reason is because they're well-run businesses. And then they can pay their people well, and it doesn't become this kind of nickel and dime trade-off around how much am I paying you versus what can I, take back to pay for my inefficiencies. And you got to love a business that can pay people well because it's a virtuous cycle. It just keeps going. Your people like working there. They're nice to customers. They do the right thing. They don't steal from you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you get Buc-ee's or Costco. So the trick is run a good business so you can pay your people well. Okay, that's good. Congratulations.
I'm having fun. I mean, but I think the whole thing is consistency. And
when do you think one of these like ERPs or something is going to try to buy mostly Metrics as their TVPN? Because it's coming, right? Like it makes too much sense to me. Really?
What's the number? What's the number? If I gave you 50 for your if like SAP gave you 50 for your business, would you take it?
He'd take it in a sec.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. It'd have to get closer.
He's just doing that for public consumption.
No, 100 million.
Always take the money.
There's something beautiful about being able to just clip a healthy portion of money every year and have an annuity stream, basically, and get to hang out with your kids and have dinner every night at 5 p.m. and work out twice a day if I want to. And I don't know. Like I work hard, but it's on my own terms and it's under my own motivation. And it just wouldn't be the same having a boss.
That's great. That's awesome. What are your hobbies, Josh? CJ. Old man. CJ, what are your hobbies?
Did you get the dementia test during your, because Trump passes those things with flying colors.
No, I know. I didn't. I failed it. What do you're not golfing. What are you doing?
I run a lot. I run like 50 miles a week. I do road races. Nothing as crazy as like the races Brian did. Like he runs a 5K around your pace, Troy.
Which is 10 minutes?
Well, I think he's a little below. What do you like?
About half of that, but yeah.
So have you run with Brian, CJ?
Oh, we've never.
No, but
dude, no way. That's not happening.
Well, he's built like someone from Ethiopia, so he does well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince my wife to let me get a drum set, but she said it would be too loud. She doesn't want me to have musical aspirations. I tell her I'm an artist. She doesn't believe me.
Well, thank you for this cameo, CJ. Big admirer of what you built with mostly metrics, and I do think some ERP will come knocking, but you can turn them down and turn them down.
Thanks for the business colonoscopy, and it's great to see both of you.
Yeah, I just got a colonoscopy actually last week.
All right.
Yeah.
On that note,
see you
that's
later,
the
CJ.
show.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode of People vs. Algorithms, where each week we uncover patterns shaping media, culture, and technology. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Vanya Arsenov. She always makes us a little clearer and more understandable, and we appreciate her very, very much. If you're enjoying these conversations, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It helps us get the word out and keeps our community growing. Remember, you can find People vs. Algorithms on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and now on YouTube. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.